Let's talk about starting an LLC in Ohio. And the cool thing is that when you talk about an LLC in Ohio, you're talking about a state that is really favorable to LLCs, and the process for LLC formation in Ohio can be really fast. Okay, it can go somewhere from a couple of hours all the way to 14 days. So a couple of hours, basically, this is if you want to expedite the whole process, not a problem. And one thing I want to say here is that Ohio is constantly sort of improving the regulatory environment for LLCs, LPs, C corporation, S corporations throughout the state. And one thing you want to do here is that when it comes to filing your LLC, your Ohio LLC, you can do things yourself. Or you can hire like a third party to kind of take care of things for you. Now, there are pros and cons when you actually do it yourself versus when you actually hire a third party. One of the advantages when it comes to DIY is that you basically understand the whole process from A to Z. So, and it's not that complicated. You can actually go on Ohio State's website, and basically you have all the information there. Now, if you were to go through a third party, basically you will need to actually you'll have peace of mind, but you'll have to pay something. You have to pay $200 to $400, excluding state filing fees. So you basically are hiring a service such as Zen Business or LegalZoom or Record Lawyer to actually take care of things for you. Okay. Now, there are 5 important steps when it comes to starting an LLC in Ohio, and you basically want to focus on complying with each of the steps. And it's really important to understand that the name that you are gonna choose for your Ohio LLC must be free of any copyright infringement rights. I mean, any copyright problems. Okay. And what we advise our clients to do is to actually have a name that's available in all 50 states. Don't just have a name that's available in Ohio or Georgia or in one state or a couple of states. Just make sure that the name is available federally. So this is kind of cool because you can search for. So when you search for the name that you want to choose, when you search for that name on Ohio's on the state website, also do a federal search so you have a clear idea that the name is available. Also, welcome back to the show. It's really a pleasure to have you here. Make yourself comfortable. You are going to enjoy today's conversation. So here are the steps you need to follow if you have to form an LLC in Ohio. And the thing is that, first of all, you have to name your Ohio LLC. So there are so many businesses out there, and many may be in the same industry you want to join. So you start your business with a unique name that will surely differentiate you from other companies. So not only does it have to be unique, but it also has to follow the naming rules that Ohio has set for a business. Okay. And basically, when we talk about naming requirements for Ohio LLCs, basically you have Ohio has several naming rules for businesses. The information that we actually are giving you into this conversation, this just gives you a general breakdown of the much more detailed rules that you can find on the Secretary of State's Guide to Name Availability page. Okay. And there you will find more rules concerning punctuation, contractions, abbreviations, tenses, and more. So here are the general Ohio LLC naming rights, or naming rules rather. So you under Ohio law, your business's name must be distinguishable from the names of other companies previously registered with the Secretary of State. So this includes other LLCs, LPs, domestic corporations, licensed foreign corporations, trade names, reserve names. So this is kind of important. And some business names can actually be subject to additional naming requirements or restrictions, right? Anything that has to do with banking, for instance, or insurance, or government, or education, you might have to go through an extra layer of compliance processes. And the one thing I need to say here is that you need to have a designator that identifies your business structure. So you might have limited liability company, you might have L.C. You might have LLC, you might have limited, you might have a limit like LTD dot, or you might just have LTD without the dots. Okay. And so you also have the opportunity to reserve an Ohio business name. So if you're not ready yet, you always have the ability to reach out to the state, or even you can do the reservation also online. Now, in any situation, if you need to contact state authorities, you can call 614-466-0562, 614-466-0562 to actually ask all questions. Make sure that you get a domain name for your Ohio LLC also. that this is really good. And you might want to trademark that name as well. Plus, I want to quickly remind you of today's topic. We are having a conversation about how to start an LLC in Ohio. The second thing you need to do is you need to actually appoint a statutory agent in Ohio. Okay, and now they call this person or this company a registered agent in other states, but in Ohio it's called a statutory agent. And so the state requires all businesses to have a statutory agent, commonly known as a registered agent in some other states, right? Now, this person or entity accepts any legal documents in person on behalf of the LLC in Ohio and relays them to the LLC's leadership. So basically, this person, you don't have to be your own statutory agent. You can actually outsource this task to a third party. And now the agent must be available at a physical address known as a registered agent in Ohio during regular business hours. You'll need to appoint a statutory agent for your LLC in Ohio when filing the articles of organization with the Secretary of State. And when filing, you will need to include a written acceptance signed by the agent along with the agent's name and address. So authorities want to have a clear idea who that agent is. Okay. Now, who can be a statutory agent in Ohio for your LLC? Well, a natural person who is a resident of Ohio and one of the entities with a business address in Ohio, for example, a limited liability company, a limited liability partnership, a limited partnership association, an LPA, a professional association, a PA, a partnership, a domestic or foreign corporation, a nonprofit corporation, an unincorporated nonprofit association, so a UNA, or you can also have a business trust. This is kind of cool. Now, if your statutory agent resigns, you basically need to need to update that person's information by filing a form called it's Form 521 in Ohio. So that's the statutory agent update. Okay. Now, it's really important to understand that your LLC must maintain a statutory agent at all times. If there is a problem, you need to notify state authorities ASAP. Okay. And you can also be your own statutory agent, even though we do not actually advise our clients and viewers to actually co-mingle or mingle their regular business management, I would say, functions with that of statutory agent. And you also need to actually create a profile on the business filings page. So basically, you can actually file everything online, but you gotta first register your business on Ohio state website. Okay, and you also have the opportunity to expedite Ohio LLC articles of organization. As I said before, you basically can expect to wait somewhere from 2 days to 14 days if you were to go with a normal route. Now, if you want to expedite things, there is something called a rush filing service. So basically, with the rush filing service, you can actually ask Ohio State to actually accelerate things for you, and you can actually get approved, if you will, within 1 day. So this is kind of fine. Now, you might have to pay additional fees. The thing is that there are several levels of expedited service. So level 1 can actually be submitted online, in person, or by mail for a $100 fee for a turnaround time of 2 days. 1 to 2 days. Level 2 can only be submitted in person or online for a $200 fee for a turnaround time of 1 business day. And level 3, which is really, really critical, this can be only submitted in person or online for a $300 fee for a turnaround time of 4 hours. 4 hours. So for this option, filings that are submitted after 1 p.m. will be available the following business day. Okay, so this is kind of important. But overall, you have, like, Ohio is a very friendly state when it comes to LLCs. They have a whole they have a whole bunch of regulations and rules, really make LLCs' lives, if you will, very easy and affordable. Like in terms of running an LLC, you have all kinds of possibilities, all kinds of flexibility also. So this is really good. So you also, after actually let's say filing your articles of organization, you need to actually include whether or not you will be member managed or manager managed. It really depends upon you. You also need to keep track of your business documents. Very important. Plus, I want to quickly remind you of today's topic. We are talking about how to form an LLC in Ohio. Next thing you want to do here is to create an operating agreement. So basically, this is not mandatory. Like, you don't have to file this in Ohio. I mean, if you have an Ohio LLC, not a problem. You can actually, as soon as you actually file your paperwork with the state, that's fine. Now, an operating agreement is kind of important because it really protects your business. It really adds extra layers of flexibility, extra layers of, I would say, transparency into how your LLC, your Ohio LLC is run. And so basically, you have a lot of benefits. Operating agreements enhance the LLC's liability status, allowing you to clarify which assets are personal and which are business related. It also clarifies any verbal agreements between the members and managers. And so this is kind of cool. Consider getting agreements in writing and keeping them organized in your office. It allows you that the operating agreement allows you to run the limited liability company however you want, so long as no laws are being broken. It further legitimizes the LLC, making it look much more organized, if you will, planned out and professionally run. And those agreements make it easier to get a loan, since financial institutions sometimes require them. Okay, and this is kind of cool. And now, what should you really include in the LLC agreement for your Ohio LLC? Now, you need to include things like why the limited liability company is being formed, and which services, products it will offer, the names of the members, the contributions to be made by each member, the ownership interest of each member, as well as division of profits and losses. Each member is voting rights when it comes to business-related matters. And the agreement has to detail how new members will be added to the company. It also must detail the reasons for and process of removing a member from the LLC, and organizing meetings, how the whole thing will happen, and reasons for and process of dissolving the LLC. So you want to be as granular as possible, as transparent as possible. And even if you are one member, even if you have a single member LLC for your Ohio LLC, it's always needed. I mean, not needed, but it's always advisable, if you will, recommended, if you will, to actually have an operating agreement. That way, you're clarifying things for outside observers. Okay, and this is kind of cool. Also, if you were sued, for instance, you were covering yourself, covering your butt, so to speak. The final step here is that you need to apply for an EIN. You need to contact the federal government, and the IRS, and you also need to clarify things for, like, you need to have the EIN, and you can do this online. You can apply for an EIN online. An EIN stands for an employer identification number. So you basically are registering your LLC with the federal government. You also need to register your LLC for business taxes in Ohio, and you need to actually register with the Ohio Business Gateway website. There you can find filings for the Department of Taxation, which includes the commercial activity tax, the CAT, the employer withholding, local sales tax, and more. Additionally, you can visit the Ohio Department of Taxation website to obtain important information regarding the state's taxes, and this includes registration requirements, filing due dates, and filing requirements. You can also, while you're there, you can also take advantage of the Ohio Small Business Tax Training Program to help you better understand the Ohio Department's state tax requirements. And this is kind of cool, okay? And you also basically are able to take control of your Ohio LLC finances. If you have, for instance, a bank account, a business bank account. But to open a business bank account, you gotta have an EIN, because banks and credit unions, for that matter, will not open a business bank account for you if they do not have in front of them your EIN. In some cases, they will also want to see your articles of organization, and also your operating agreement, because banks understand when you actually make a loan, or when you actually make a business, like if you grant a business line of credit to an LLC or another company for that matter, if something were to happen, and at least an operating agreement will clarify things for all parties, so that you can have, let's say, a fair process when it comes to, for instance, when it comes to distributing the assets of the LLC. And one thing I also need to say here is that you can outsource everything I'm telling you into this conversation. You can DIY it, you can do it yourself, or you can outsource it to an external service. Okay, we have all kinds of services that do that help business owners form LLCs across 50 states, all 50 states. Let me give you a few pro tips before we close to this conversation. It's really important to understand that when it comes to an Ohio LLC, basically you're paying somewhere from $99 all the way to $200. Now, why the big gap? Well, $99, that's actually for filing articles of organization as of the date of this show. The extra $100 will be if you were to request a rush service. Okay, so $100 to go from $100, $200, and $300, depending on how fast you want things to happen. This is kind of cool, and it's important to understand that LLCs avoid double taxation, meaning that the business is not required to pay federal income tax. Instead, the income passes through the LLC owners, but you might have to pay tax in like a state tax in Ohio, depending upon the sector you're in. Okay? Now, Ohio does allow a series LLC, so you have all kinds of LLCs you can actually create in Ohio. They do allow series LLCs. So this LLC type involves an arrangement whereby multiple LLCs operate under the umbrella of a larger LLC. So each company retains its own rights, assets, and obligations, and this is kind of important. And you also want to make sure when you reach out to an LLC formation service, ask them if they can help you with a series LLC formation as well. Okay, and you can also transfer ownership of an LLC in Ohio. You know, if you have an asset within an LLC, not a problem. And but the only thing is that there is a lengthy. The process can be actually lengthy, but it's one of those things where, depending on the magnitude of the asset we're talking about, it's just a lot better to hire an attorney. I mean, don't try to do everything yourself. Yeah, I mean, you might want to save cash, every now and then, but when it comes to something as important as asset transfer, just outsource the whole activity to an attorney who would really better advise you. And one thing I also need to say is that if you want to remove, let's say, a member from your Ohio LLC, you might need to update your articles, your operating agreement, also your articles of organization. And there is a form called Form 611, and it's actually it's called a certificate of amendment or restatement. So you need to actually file this form, the Form 611, with the Ohio Secretary of State, and you should also record any changes that happen in the company in your operating agreement. Okay, it's one of those things where you are not actually you're just protecting yourself, and you don't have to write a business plan. No, to actually form an LLC in Ohio, you do not have to write a business plan. But I mean, you might need to have a business plan for running your own business, or for even getting a business loan or business line of credit, or even a business credit card in some cases. But you do not, like, the authorities don't need to have a business plan from you before opening your Ohio LLC. Thank you so much for your attention. I really appreciate it. In today's conversation, I'll just explain to you how to start an LLC in Ohio. Basically, you name your Ohio LLC, you appoint a statutory agent in Ohio, file Ohio articles of organization, create an operating agreement, and apply for an EIN. Thank you so much. God bless you. I'll speak to you another time. Until then, remember, stay marvelous.